So, as Mark said, I chose this piece because I wrote this right after I got back in 2008, and I didn't have, the tribe that I do today. So I wanted to pick a piece that I struggled to write, and I kind of struggled to put my thoughts together on what had just happened over the 16-month deployment. And I wanted something that I could look at as a 39-year-old with 2 kids and, a family, and kind of reflect on, edit, and kind of have an engagement with that piece I wrote back then. The unknown soldier with a missing leg, mouth ajar, bare-chested, his skin the color of life, his eyes rolled back into the black abyss, only the whites exposed to the dry air. We carried him, one at each corner of the litter, whipping our tan shirts into a frivolous dance. The rudder's thunderous sound crescendoed in our ears and woke the palms from their midday nap. The soldier's body obeyed the day's rhythm, shaking side to side, and bobbing up and down to the cadence of uneven boots. As we slid him onto the helicopter, the flight crew covered him, immediately going to work on another fading American sun. Moments, now forever frozen in my mind. A ground medic yelling into the ear of one of the crew, an all clear signal. Survivors crouched, eyes closed, the lone tan boot. The last thing I focused on before it hovered away towards the Iraqi sun. I remember the laces were still tied. They were tight and crisp with a hint of salt around the grooved metal loops. And then a thought about this fucking sand in my mouth. As he shoved his feet into his boots that morning, he probably hurried to lace them. Not once did the quietest moment of his day strike him as pleasant. He hurried the pace, mounting his weapon in the gunner's position and fumbling to strap his gear on. Body armor, comms, cords, the ass strap. A fight for comfort. All the while, a phone call he had last night with his girl in Ohio plagued his thoughts. Hours later, hot metal ripped through his Humvee. The 3-inch bulletproof window shattered, green with white pockmarks. Oil spewed onto the ground, reflecting the vehicle's layered armor in its dark pool. The Humvee, top speed 70 miles per hour, 400 pounds of torque, 6 feet tall, 7 feet wide, 15 feet long. Seats up to 4 soldiers, one at the gun, at the ready, suspended, waiting and waiting. The soldier, now struggling to remember his girl's face, no longer hot, rather cold. His left leg clung to his hip by strands of something, bits of bone now being touched by the daylight. A puddle of red staring back at this suspended thing, now moaning, half in and half out. He laid his head back, lips wet with tears, eyes wide. He could almost see her. After the helicopter took off, all seemed to be calm. The sound of thunder in the distance echoed away. I thought of his family. Somewhere they were carrying on with a prayer in mind for their beloved boy. The next morning, I stared at my own boots, side by side. They too had salt stains dressing the tan metal loops. Grabbing one of the boots, I slipped my bare foot inside, feeling the cold leather, still damp from the previous day's toil. Sometimes it took me 20 minutes to lace my boots while reflecting on home, my family, my wife, my boy, our dog Jake. Jake was this Bernese mountain dog that my family rescued from a kill shelter before I went down range. My wife said, "Ty, if you're gonna be gone for a year, I'm gonna need a dog." Jake had this beautiful coat of black fur, caramel tones, a splash of white on his chest. A colorful sign attached to his kennel advertised, "Trained family dog, good with kids." His stare seemed to say that he was just as curious of us as we were of him. So we decided to bring Jake home, and on the first day, he nudged a second floor window open and jumped out of it, leaving only the screen flapping in the wind. He survived. I found Jake hours later locked up at the MP station. He lived to be 11 years old. For some time after the medevac, I wondered how old the unknown soldier was. Now I wonder how young he was. I've since taken the liberty of giving the soldier a name, Jody, short for Jody Boy. Before missions, I can remember rolling my bootlaces between the thumb and the forefinger, hesitant to fully lace them. Sometimes I sat there crying. Sometimes I could hear my grandfather's voice, "You'll know what to do, grandson." This was his mantra for me since I was in the single digits. Sometimes I closed my eyes, imagining what it would be like when it was my turn to go. Would I see it coming? How would it feel? How would it sound? These thoughts of doom, overtaken by images and moments of joy. A dog's slimy nose, a mom's smile, a lone rope swing, cold beer on a Friday night, and Jody and his girl. All of it, all of those thoughts. It's just a Ferris wheel of thoughts, spinning round and round, bright, colorful lights, people everywhere, no sound, just still images and a frozen smile, broken by a knock and a new day's mission. Thank you.